public officials, public figures on TV like yourself, who hold office, have a responsibility to be reasonable in their rhetoric, because you do make violence inevitable if you stir up this kind of hatred and suspicion.
Really?
I think that's very true.
You don't
Jay Johnson,
say.
it's really
You make violence inevitable. You don't say. You fucking moron.
We're going to go back to Independence Hall in Philadelphia, where NBC News White House correspondent Mike Memoli watched the president deliver his speech on the threats facing the nation.
No, I'm not going to get myself back. I have beer.
Talking about this being
Does everyone have a drink?
A vintage Biden speech and something he wanted to give. Feels strongly about the impetus for tonight's address.
Well, Chris, I really thought this was a fascinating bit of presidential stagecraft and rhetoric in this most American setting, the building where the founding documents of this country were written. Joe Biden,
once you see the political propaganda, you can never. Can someone just insert me back into the matrix,
at one
please?
Point, even almost explicit way, tried to separate what he said was the vast majority of the American people with a distinct minority, albeit a potent one, which is essentially un-American. And for Joe Biden,
they're un-American.
I've covered a long time.
They're un-American. Half the country is un-American.
Over the course of his career, been criticized for his relationships with Republicans and even with some Democrats whose views many consider to be objectionable. We remember the role that this played in the primary. But as I was preparing for this speech and talking to
Republicans better not do what Republicans. I'm telling you guys, if you respond with violence, it's not going to be fucking good. Do not do anything stupid.
The 2008 campaign. He said, President Biden was not naive. He knew that his election alone
conservatives and Republicans have got to rein this shit in. Do not do anything stupid. They will take advantage of every stupid thing the right does.
Elected Republicans, were still very clearly under the thumb of Donald Trump. And you heard the president for the second time in 3 days refer to his longtime friend from the Senate, Lindsey Graham, as Biden put it tonight, predicting perhaps even encouraging violence in the streets should the prosecution, for instance, of the former president
not take the bait,
and so
conservatives.
What the president did tonight
Don't
was
do
very
it.
Plainly, as he said,
they're trying to bait you. They are trying. You know what they're okay, I'm going to say this when they have a commercial. They are trying to piss the right off. They are trying to provoke the right to do something stupid so they can use it against them prior to the midterms. That's what this is. They're trying to provoke the right.
Saying they need to do our duty in the months ahead to preserve this democracy. Chris.
Conservatives start violence all the fucking time. All death threats come from conservatives. Don't give me this shit. Don't give me this. Conservatives are the very first people to engage in death threats. They do it all the fucking time. They need to rein it in.
President and CEO of the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights, Coalition of Civil Rights
I've
Organizations.
heard the messages left by conservatives for that John McCain tweet.
It's good to have you here. The sort of wedge approach, right? That's the key point here is like Popular Front coalition in defense of American democracy against its enemies, who are a sizable but minority faction in American life. How effectively do you think he did that?
Well, I think he made the choice very stark and clear. He did two things, I think, in his speech, which one was to say, I'm not talking about all Republicans, I'm talking about MAGA Republicans, and making that distinction.
That is most of the Republicans, you idiots.
Rights, those who oppose the rule of law, those who believe in the big lie that there's election fraud and therefore want to win when they've lost and violently take over the country is actually what we're fighting against. And I think that is a recognition that there's a majority of the country that understands that's wrong and that's bad. And at the same time, I found it fascinating that while he made references to race, he made references to equality, to the fight for abolition in part of that speech, that so much of the big lie was actually driven by white ethno-nationalism.
Yeah.
When we talk about white supremacy, we're talking about what has driven the lie, which is the fear of
these
the fact
people
that
don't
we
know
are
what that shit really looks like.
democracy.
I do know what that shit looks like.
White supremacist once towards the end and did mention which
Yeah, I don't know who it's not all Republicans, just MAGA Republicans are for. Like, I'm sure that there are some white supremacists who will vote with white supremacists who don't think they're white supremacists.
White supremacists don't even like Joe Biden. Or excuse me, they don't even like Donald Trump. They don't, well, they do like Joe Biden more than they like Trump, actually.
But this is, I think, a really great bit.
Real white
where he says
supremacists
to the
don't like
heckler,
Donald Trump.
That dude, that man, that person from the other side is entitled to be outrageous.
Totally.
And that, to me, that is the difference between Biden and Trump.
Totally.
That is the difference between me and Jenny Thomas.
Right.
That is the difference between Democrats and Republicans, because Republicans right now would have that heckler be beaten.
Right.
They would say
What?
that.
I don't know all Republicans, but Donald Trump.
What are you
certainly say
shitting
He has
me?
a record for saying.
Right? And Lindsey Graham would be like, okay, boss. Like, that's how they are at this point, right? And so when Biden says that heckler is entitled to be outrageous, how can you hear that? Understand what he
This
meant.
guy
You heard
probably
the whole
teaches at
time he was-
Yale or some
That guy was
such
yelling
shit.
into the microphone. How can you hear Biden say that and not understand?
This is what
about the
Democrats
critical
believe,
difference
guys.
between
We're
both
watching
parties?
this because
Yeah,
this is
it
what
was an
Democrats
interesting moment because
believe.
it was sort of democracy in action, right? Like literally the definition of free society is one in which you can get a bullhorn and yell at the president. Like almost definitionally. Maya Wiley, Eileen
Oh, that
Mistel,
never happened
stick
to
around.
Trump.
Coming up after
That
the sitting
never
president
happened.
warns the looming threat from his predecessor. Presidential historian Michael Beschloss joins me next.
Oh my God. All right. I'm turning down the volume because I don't want to have to listen to the commercial, but I do want to see when they come back. Listen. And I need conservatives and Republicans to listen to me like they've never listened before in their life. I know from direct personal experience that anytime death threats happen or any of like these threatening things, it comes from the right. I know you guys don't want to hear this, but that is the truth. Every single death threat I have ever received has been from a conservative. Every single overreaction that I have ever received has been from a conservative. Don't get me wrong. I've gotten shit from the left too. But the really bad stuff, the really, really bad stuff has always, universally, 100% come from the right. And I know, for those of you who are following the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire Twitter drama with the John McCain Happy Holidays tweet, I know I have heard the messages that were left. And and I had nothing to do with that, but I did support it and I do continue to support it. But I heard the messages that were left on people's voicemails. I've seen the emails that were sent to people. They didn't come from the left. They came from the right. They were not good. And I need conservatives and Republicans to listen to me like you have never listened before in your life. If I have ever said anything that you have found compelling, you need to fucking listen. Do not take the bait. They are baiting you. This is bait. They want you to be violent. They want you to send threatening messages. They want you to do anything that they can nail you to the wall on. Nope, they didn't. It came from the right. See, you guys like to deny this bullshit. You like to deny it happens. No. I know exactly and precisely where they came from. You idiots with your fucking denials of this shit. With you, this is going to lead to you idiots taking the bait. Do you understand that? By not looking at the people on your own side, you cannot take this bait. You cannot. Do not make threats. Do not call in bomb threats like they did at Boston Children's Hospital. Do not make anything that could even remotely be conceived as a threat. Do not do anything stupid. Because I'm sure people are riling each other up on social media right now. And someone is going to do something. Something like, oh God, I don't even want to go on Gab right now. Oh my God, I cannot even imagine. You need to sit back and you need to keep your mouth shut. And you don't give in to your inner urges to send that email or to leave that voicemail or whatever the fuck. You need to rein it in because anything you do will be used against you. Do not do it. And don't say no one warned you if you did something stupid and it comes back to bite you in the ass and you end up in the gulag before everyone else. Tom J., thank you for the super chat. Currently red pilling a new friend here in New York City that was shocked when I told her the January 6th trial didn't allow GOP reps to defend him. We need to keep calm and find common ground and just call for fairness. Normies will come around. We have 2 years. Let's go. This is exactly right. You need to keep calm. You need to maintain the high ground. The minute that one of you gives up the high ground is the minute that everyone gives up the high ground. They want you to be violent. They want you to be the people that they say you are. They want you to make calls for civil war. They want you to do this. They want you to riot. They thought that January 6th was going to be so much worse than it was because they did not understand. They did not understand that in general, Trump supporters are not violent. However, you guys do run your mouths. You make threats of civil war. You say you're going to do it. You call people, you send really nasty emails, you post nasty messages on social media threatening war, talking about your guns. They are going to use everything you do against you. You need to be calm. You need to rein it in. And I say this as someone that wouldn't even vote for Trump again. I will not vote for a Republican ever again in my life. But I am actually on your side on this. But you need to rein it in.